Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Rainbow Six Siege's new update, Blood Orchid. We're going to be going to the map, and then we're going to rank the new operators. So, what did you think about the new map?
I think the new map is actually a very good addition to the game, and with the new changes in meta in general, with the new trap operators, and even with Ying, it's actually a very decent map for that. Because I feel like in the past there have been the DLC maps have just kind of been a little lackluster, and they've been progressively getting a little bit worse. And then we move on to this new one, which was, I think it's at first, I think this is the easiest one for how big it is for me to learn. I learned it in I only played 3 matches of it.
That's true.
And for how big it is, I was actually very surprised about how easy it was to learn it. I learned the whole thing in 4
Yeah,
matches.
because first going into this map, it just looks like it's going to be confusing. It's like, oh, this is going to take me forever to learn.
Right.
And then you play just a couple matches, and you're like, okay, I'm getting a hang of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. There's really cool. It's a really cool map. Probably one of my favorite maps visually. They have that gargoyle room. They have a lot of Easter eggs in it, and just small things that are really cool. And one of these things that's more like a taking note thing, as far as the biggest Easter egg in there, and the one that pays tribute a lot more is the arcade machine that pays tribute to the fallen Rainbow Six Siege player goes by the gamer tag of Boston Bear Jew, and he basically, what happened with him is, the story is he died early this year, and one of his friends, who's also a Reddit user, he was big in the community basically.
Yeah.
Boston Bear Jew was, and one of his friends who got in touch with one of the big community members of Siege, and he was trying to push to get his name sort of in there, he wanted something special for him. And I think it was really cool that they were able to push that. And then, because on it says keep playing forever, and it shows his rank on the side, and it shows his gamer tag and everything like that. I think it's a really cool thing.
Oh yeah, that's definitely awesome.
Overall, the map has with the new meta changes, the map has tight enough corridors for you to put your Ella charges on in your Legion goo mines and everything. If you want to put Grisbot mines for Ella above a door, that's kind of her meta. And you just kind of walk in and you're just instantly stunned. The defenders have a really good spot to have line of sights on those doors. It's not just it's not completely tight. You can still open up areas to have line of sights of pretty much a lot of the map.
Yeah.
And I like how many walls there are, and especially in the lower areas. There's a lot of walls that are just in the lower areas that can be left open by the defense, because it's still a new map and everyone's still getting used to it. And so they're going to reinforce different places, and they're not going to know these walls are here and these walls are there. And it gives you Ying kind of an advantage, and it gives, I guess, people just breaching charges, and Fuse a huge advantage about that as well. You can blow up these walls, fuse the walls, Ying the walls, and just have someone come in. You can just Candela charge, just have a 3-second timer after putting a breaching charge on there. And then you can basically put the charge on there, and then once all they pop in and you can hear the flashes go off, that's when you press the breach, and you can just run in and basically get everyone. Basically, overall, the map is very cool. It is a nice addition to Siege. It's a very good Siege map.
I feel like it's a great Siege map because, being a defender and an attacker, you can still feel confident in both positions. Because there's so many times with certain maps where you're like, oh, I'm a defender. I do not feel good. There, you go to one corner of a room and you're like, I don't feel good here. Go to a different one, you're like, you just can't find a good spot. Whereas this map, I feel like there's a lot of good spots. There's so many areas where it's you feel confident as a defender and as an attacker. You can come in at every angle and it just feels good. It feels
solid, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just think it's all around just a pretty great map.
Yeah, I think it's a great map, and I think that there's enough areas of entrance that you can feel safe entering as an attacker, as far as windows go and everything, and the doors and everything.
So do you have any negative aspects about the map?
Some negative things I would actually say about the map. It's not all around a great map or the fantastic map.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good map, but I mean, some parts I would say there are some the transition from tight corridors to big open areas, that's a little too sudden. And there's a lot of parts where you're going down a hallway and then you lean into an open area, which there are quite a few open areas in this map, especially with every floor pretty much. First floor, second floor, and third floor has their open spot. And the transition from how tight the corridors are to how open, it's just it throws you off sometimes.
Yeah.
You'll go into that sort of transition and you're this big ass room has so many spots that they could be like attackers or defenders could be just looking down a certain hallway, and it just doesn't feel. It just feels kind of weird. And it doesn't feel safe. Another thing I would say is it's a little dark. I feel like, especially the downstairs parts, it's not like a big deal, but it's like, it sometimes has its effects a little bit, because if you have somebody who's wearing completely dark clothes, like a recruit, or someone who has the Blood Orchid, like a lot of the Blood Orchid skins that they came out with the update, everyone has a uniform and a headgear that's completely black. So this map, especially in the lower quarters with like the gargoyle room and all that, there's some dark corners that these guys can be hiding in, and attackers can even go in and they can't even be seen, like especially with like Hibana and everyone, like they're already with dark clothing on. So just I guess just this lighting in general. Other than that, I think the map is overall a great map, and it's a great siege map, and I would love to play this in ranked if they actually decide to throw that in the ranked playlist. So with the new map out of the way, let's talk about the new operators. What are your thoughts on the new operators?
I feel like all the operators as a whole, they do feel a little light. Just like there's no big certain like big heavy hitters. They're all of their gadgets and whatnot. It is a little more suppression based. Especially like Ying. She has the Candela charge, and I feel like that gadget is just, it's decent. It's just not.
It's a little hit or miss. Like it'll work or it won't work.
Pretty much, it's very particular situations with it.
It is.
And I feel like the flash stun just doesn't last long enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like a normal flash bang lasts just a little bit longer.
I feel like that too a lot. Yeah.
And
I'm not completely sure, but I mean, it seems like it. It definitely does.
It just feels like it. Just yeah. As far as clearing a room, I feel like Blitz is more useful when it comes to using the flashbang, because
he utilizes it a lot better, and it's a lot more exact. And you can't really counter it.
Exactly. You know what you're doing with it, and I'm pretty certain that his stun lasts longer as well.
Right.
But her gun is pretty decent.
It's all right.
It's all right. The clip size is pretty large.
That's the one thing about it.
Yeah. So because there's lots of moments where, at least I've noticed when playing as Ying, there's lots of moments where I'm like shooting at one person, and then also I see something else, and I can just turn and shoot and not worry about reloading. So that is pretty nice.
And it doesn't hit that hard, but the recoil's a little, on it. It's like a little high. However, that big clip size and how fast it reloads, it's very good for covering fire.
It's true.
If people want to move behind you, or if in general you just want to put bullets down range and see if you can hit something.
There's many moments where I feel like if you kind of hang in the back a little bit, that is very useful.
Right.
Just because how you keep putting bullets
you just
down
spray.
range.
Yeah.
So. Did you have much of a chance to use your shotgun?
I did a little bit, because I know it's very... Okay, I thought it would be as fast as you can pull the trigger, just like Ella's shotgun. But when you go to use it, it's kind of a slower semi-auto shotgun.
A little bit.
Like the M1014 a little bit, just the way it shoots. It doesn't do that much damage either. Like, it's not that great. I feel like it could be better. In general, I think her shotgun is a little more lackluster than all the other shotguns. Mainly because of the fact that it is used on attack. However, Legion has the same shotgun, but it has a suppressor. So it is... Using it on defense is definitely a lot better, I feel. Because you are, like, controlling the hallways. You're controlling the inside of the map.
So speaking of Legion, what are your thoughts on him?
I think he's an overall, just like one of the stronger defensive operators in general. Both of his guns hit hard. And you actually get 2 of his goo mines at the beginning of... kind of like the first round, like the beginning of the round, aka I guess the end of the preparation phase, and it gives you a lot of options to where you want to kind of set things up, or if you want to just do it down 2 hallways. The really strong thing about this gadget is the fact that you can see the symbol through walls, and that can line up really good wall bang opportunities, and you can also see where the enemy's pushing. So if you look, like let's say you have like a corridor here and a corridor here, and you're in this room, right? And this room has this wall and then 2 other walls, and then hallways like right here. You have both these symbols in both hallways. You're in this objective. Or you're just in the room next to it, going off for a flank because you're roaming. You hear a goo mine go off. The left one is gone. You go to peek out there, and you have to jump on them because A, they're probably going to take it out, or B, they're going to be like the green kind of screws you up a little bit. It kind of like it adds an extra like color, and it just kind of screws you up. And especially when you get hit by it, you're in kind of like the surprised phase, and that's when you can actually like get someone and catch someone off guard completely. Very good for wallbanging opportunities. I feel that his gadget's a very solid gadget, but the thing that makes it a really good gadget to actually have when you're actually going to use the tactic of, oh, here's the symbol through the wall, let me line up, is the fact that he has guns to back it up. He has the SMG that can shoot really fast and is really, really accurate. It also hits hard enough. So even if you don't really line up the headshot, you still get a lot of damage out of that. His shotgun, like we were talking about before with Ying's shotgun, how it's not really the best on attack, it's more useful for Legion and his like and defense in general, is you can have like a pile or like just like 2 of his goo mines just sitting there, and they get like, you know, they go off and you go around the corner and you can just literally just spray, and like everyone just they're just not going to survive it. But in general, he's a very, very solid roamer, and he can stay in objective, and that's the thing about him, is he's a very good anchor in objective because he has that 2 armor and 2 speed. You want him to be an objective, but at the same time you can roam a lot. You can roam around the objective because you can catch up well, but you still have the armor to back it up, and you can actually, if you're going to take a hit, you won't have to worry about it because you have really good guns to back it up, and you have the mine that they were worried about and the flank. So in general, he's just a stopper, just a complete stopper of the offense's push, and that's what's going to make him, and has made him, a very good ranked operator. Right. With Legion out of the way, what are your thoughts on Ella?
Ella, I do believe that she is definitely the least rounded character, mainly because her main weapon, the Scorpion, is such a good gun that it just kind of carries her. And even though it's an SMG, I feel like it's practically an assault rifle.
Right.
It has a very high mag capacity, and that just, I feel like,
with that paired up with a pretty decent rate of fire, like and like low recoil.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's very easy to get headshots with that.
Yeah, and on top of that, it still has a decent damage output, which is very good.
But yeah, that I would say is reasonable to have that good of a gun, because I honestly feel like her gadget is a little weak. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's practically Legion's gadget, but a downgraded version.
Yeah, honestly.
And every time that
and it doesn't even damage you at that. And you can't even see the symbol through the wall.
Exactly. And every time that I am an attacker and I'm affected by it, it's not a big deal at all. I just have to stay there for a second, and then like lots of times they'll come walking around the corner trying to shoot me, and then I just shoot them first.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect you that
much. It's not as disorientating as like Echo's drone, because the more you move with Echo, the worse it gets. And I feel like if you're just moving with her, with that thing going off, you're fine. You don't get more and more disoriented.
If anything, like you said, as far as the location type thing, even though you can't see the symbol through the wall, you can at least kind of remember where you put it. Right. Maybe just don't get too out of hand with throwing them all down, and you'll know exactly where it is that it went off. So it can be handy in that way. In the middle of a combat situation, it can be handy throwing it out.
Oh yeah, and that's the one thing about her that is kind of like her, basically one of her strong suits, is the fact that you can throw the charge at someone who's like a hostile. So like we'll show footage right here. In the middle of this kind of the ace onto the plane, when I threw it at Montaigne, and it kind of made him drop his shield, and I didn't know if that was actually, if that's a thing. Like I may have to like go into that and like tweak that and just see what really made him drop his shield from fully extended to just not extended at all. But I feel like if that affected anyone, like even planning a diffuser at that, then that's just a huge meta change.
But yeah, both of her 2 weapons are definitely good. I do like using her shotgun, but just because of how good the Scorpion is, I don't even usually bother with the shotgun. And then her pistol's pretty nice because it has that red dot sight on it,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
like honestly,
that
actually changes a lot in the game.
And using that red dot sight pistol with the shotgun, then you're good to go, because you can use the pistol.
That's why I usually roll Caviero with shotgun and her pistol. But with Ella, you get way more like just flexibility with that. When you have her pistol with the red dot on it and you want to roll shotgun, like if you want to play plane, you just grab the shotgun and her pistol, and you can shoot people on. You can shoot glass. Who's usually they're gonna have a glass on the wing because they're shooting through that window, and when you have that pistol and it has the red dot on it, you could just line up a headshot on glass and just insta kill them, and it's really changes the game in a lot of ways. Like I don't know if they're gonna do future updates with people who have red dots on the pistol. I feel like a lot of times Ying deserves that a lot more because of just how lackluster she is in general. But I mean,
that's true.
Ella is just like she's such a powerhouse with all of those like aspects of her. So now that we have the operators out of the way and we kind of discussed them a little bit, what would you rank them from in order 1 to 3?
Number 1, I would put Ella just because of how powerful her weapons are. Even though her gadgets really aren't that great, it's just her weapons just lead the way. And then I'd put Legion as second. A very, very close second, because I feel like Legion is definitely the most rounded operator. He's definitely one of the more operators, one of the more rounded operators, period. Right. Just because all around. His weapons are good, his gadget is fantastic. Yeah. And so he's a very close second. And then I would definitely put Ying as number 3 because I do believe that Ying is one of the worst operators
right now.
There is, like, honestly. Because I was trying to play her as much as I could for this video, and I found myself not wanting to play her. Honestly. I was just like...
Yeah, I was getting that kind of too.
I just want to click on somebody else, and so, like, when somebody else clicked on Ying first, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
I'm gonna click on somebody else now. Yeah. So yeah, that is definitely my ranking. Okay. What about yours?
I would say that's just in order. I'd say right off the bat, number 1 for me would be Legion, and that's because of how powerful and how useful his gadget is, and how much of a game changer it is in general. Paired with how powerful his guns are, and how good his pistol is compared to a lot of the other operators' pistols. I think he's one of the more versatile and stronger operators on defense. I would close second Ella, definitely, just because of how hard her gun hits and the fact that she has a laser sight on her pistol. And then I would rank Ying, of course, as my number 3. I do agree with you that she's one of the more lacking operators, just because of the fact that her gun, her LMG doesn't hit hard enough. It has a ton of recoil. Like, the recoil is like, you'd think like, oh, maybe it just has no recoil on it. Maybe that's the balance of it. That's actually not the case. It's got a lot of recoil on it. And the damage and the recoil are both drawbacks, but the one thing that I do like about it, like we were talking about earlier, was the fact that it's more like a suppression gun, like send rounds downrange. But her Candela charges, I feel like they should either go higher, like to spread out the room, because somebody could just prone behind like a 1-foot wall, and then they won't even get affected by it. So overall, I would definitely rank, as far as 1 to 3 goes, I would rank Legion at the first, and then Ella at a close second, and then Ying at third, or you could say worse. It really doesn't. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but yeah.
Yeah, and I would personally say Ella at first just because of her powerhouse weapons, and Legion at a very, very close second, and then Ying at a very far behind.
Yeah. But those are kind of our thoughts about the new operators. Let us know what you think about it down below and start a discussion about them, and then we'll see you in the next video.
Welcome to Krabby Critics.
We're crabby.
We're crabs.
We're not crab.
We're just the animal crabs.
Crab people. Crab people.
We are the crab people.
That should just be your intro.
Crab people. Crab people give me anxiety.
And flashing people. Just thinking about like flashing.
So was I. I was thinking about a guy in a robe.
Just going in the room. And then
you gotta insert that like a gif from some movie where somebody's...
We better not. We should uncensor it. Alright, we ready?
Okay.